you have on, but it's going to get real hot because I'm about to turn up the heat here.
Well, I knew I was coming, so I had to do my rock star look. I figured you represent the old school like you always do.
Jalen going new school. We're going to start on actually a serious topic that we talked a lot about yesterday and has been in the news. In light of Sean Taylor's death, people are starting to ask the questions of athletes. Are they targets? Jalen, you're an athlete. Are they targets?
Absolutely, athletes are targets. You talk about a society right now where the economy is down. Things are worse than they've ever been financially. So, of course, if you're an athlete, you're high profile, you're in position to someone can rob you now, they can change their fortune. And also, if you're a robber or a criminal, you're not going to rob someone that's doing the same things you do for a living. You're going to rob someone that you feel like you can rob and get away with it. Look at what happened with Philip Buchanan in 2006 home invasion, Eddie Curry this summer, as well as Antoine Walker, home invasion, Andre Bloch of the Washington Wizards. The list goes on and on. The Duquesne University kids shot into 12 shots shot into a crowd. The list goes on and on. Brian Patter, University of Miami. The young man Taylor Bradford, who was shot and killed after he allegedly won some money at the casino. So yes, you're a target when you're an athlete, and it's an unfortunate.
Okay, but again, aren't you benefiting from the mind-boggling amount of money that you're able to make right now? Isn't this a double-edged sword? I mean, isn't any rich man in this society a target of home invasion? Because I think they are.
Well, we're talking about athletes, but also we're talking about college kids. I mean, some of these college kids actually lost their lives. These aren't millionaires yet. They're college kids. So
wait,
because
I'm not with you there.
Some of this is about jealousy. What happened in Duquesne University? That was a woman.
Okay, that's why, and I've got to bring this up, and people have laughed at me for years on this show, but you're hitting at the one area where there's one place now that an athlete, college or professional, cannot go, and that's into any kind of nightclub situation. In the Duquesne situation, a school-wide party which was unpoliced, unregulated, because, as you say, there's so much idolatry of athletes now. There's so much 24-hour media exposure that so much resentment is created that if you go into a club situation where there are frustrated athletes everywhere who want a piece of you some way or the other, and their courage is fueled by way too much alcohol, you're a terrible target. And people say, oh, we've had a lot of athletes come in and say, I'm a grown man, I should be able to go to a club and strut my stuff for the ladies. Well, you're asking for it, because that's the most dangerous place in the world for you right now.
How does that explain the home invasions you were talking about with some of the Bulls this summer that happened? That's not about going into a club, that's somebody your home and invading your space.
But you hear about it because they're famous athletes. There are break-ins every day that we don't publicize because they're just rich people in rich neighborhoods.
Well, they're also not as high. Athletes have a different level of profile unless you're, let's say, a Bill Gates. But I would still say Michael Jordan's profile is probably higher than Bill Gates. It's a different high-level person.
But you shouldn't also have to be a hermit because you're successful or because you're an athlete of your fame.
Why not?
Because of your money.
I mean, I think
because this is the United States of America. It's a free country. I should be able to go where I want.
That's why you should be a hermit.
And how I want. No, at the end of the day, I'm a human being. Respect me, respect the things that I'm doing in my life. And if I'm not violating you or your space, why violate me or mine?
Well, the one thing you guys seem to agree on is that athletes are targets, though, whether they're out or whether they're in their home. We're going to move on to the NBA right now. Your sport, LeBron James, last night, a great game between the Cavaliers and the Celtics. We talked a little bit about it yesterday on First Take. James, 38 points, 13 assists, and 14 of 15 from the line in a win in overtime over the Celtics. How would you rate King James's performance, Skip?
A+ MVP. And instead of this jacket today, I started to wear a LeBron James jersey in light of the fact that I knew you were going to call him Prince James, and he got it done
can I interrupt real quick? He was Prince James last night. Now go ahead.
Oh, you talk about the big three, the Boston Celtics come into Cleveland with the best record in the NBA. But people forget that the Cleveland Cavaliers are the Eastern Conference defending champions. They took it personal, they play with pride, and LeBron James has been playing like a man amongst boys, basically averaging a triple-double this season.
Okay, once again, you're like everyone else. You're jumping right on the bandwagon, and you're overrating LeBron's performance last night, and once again, underrating his supporting cast performance right now, or last night, and you know that I'm right about this. Last night, in the end, it was more about the Celtics losing that game than LeBron winning winning that game. In the end, it was more about Drew Gooden keeping the Cavs in the game by going completely unconscious in the third quarter and the early fourth quarter. Am I right about that?
Drew Gooden has scored 20 points one time this
Okay, but he
season,
did it last night against
LeBron
the Big
James
Three.
Is 38,
let me keep going.
consistent.
Last night was about Sasha Pavlovich making the shot of the night, which was a late three to tie that game. Am I right about that?
Taking one shot after LeBron
Okay,
James
but that was
double
the
teamed,
shot.
He got it on the left
the
wing
shot
for
of
a
the
wide
night.
open jumper.
Last night was mostly about Ray Allen, a 94% free throw shooter for the Boston Celtics, missing 2 free throws that would have won that game.
Or Paul Pierce being outplayed by LeBron James
Okay,
on both
but
ends of the floor, and
I'm
LeBron
just
James
saying,
being the guy
last
along
night-
with Michael Jordan and
last
Oscar
night-
Robertson, 38-8. Those are serious
Oh,
numbers.
come
Skip.
on. Last night
Serious
was
numbers.
once again about LeBron James at the end of regulation at home with the ball in his hands, dribbling out the last 22 seconds of regulation, and once again throwing up one of those leaning tower, awkward-looking J's that barely grazed the front of the rim, which is just inexcusable for the runaway MVP of this league.
People talk about what the Cleveland Cavaliers didn't do to improve their team and getting LeBron James help. So you know what he went out and did, Skip? He started playing like 2 guys. This guy's really getting it done. He's the #1 candidate for MVP in this league right now. Really getting it done.
Okay, and your candidate for MVP, as overtime started, the Celtics were on their heels. They completely psychologically collapsed because Kevin Garnett let LeBron drive right past him to open the overtime and lay the ball off the glass for the first 2-point lead, and they were off to the races. LeBron's a great front runner. He smelled blood, and I said a nice thing about him yesterday. He is now practicing and making his free throws, which, by the way, he should have been doing since middle school, but he's just started now.
Basketball is the ultimate team game, Skip. It's chess, not checkers, definitely. And LeBron James is definitely the king out there so far this
Some would
season.
say you got to help put your team in that position so others can help win at times. Let's talk about the Celtics, though, now. They're 11-2. They've only lost 2 games. They lost to the Magic. They lost to the Cavs. Overrated or underrated?
In an era where Alex Rodriguez can win MVP, but we still talk about how he's not good, right now the Boston Celtics have to be overrated. You know why? They haven't done anything yet.
Okay.
We're not talking about the San Antonio Spurs.
Now you're on the
cover
right
boys
track. Keep going.
Of this summer. We're talking about the Boston Celtics. Yes, they got up to a great start. I love their team. I love their chemistry. I love the Big Three. But overrated right now because they haven't got anything done yet.
Okay.
They haven't won a division, haven't won the East, haven't won the championship.
Okay, this is going to be tough for you to address because you do still play in the NBA, and I predict you will be with an NBA team before this season is over. But I say those Big Three, not one of those guys is truly mentally tough when it counts, especially Kevin Garnett, who has always talked a much bigger game than he plays when it counts. And last night, the best thing he did was all his trash talking of LeBron James during the game and, as you saw, at the end of that game. I do respect Paul Pierce, but now you have a pecking order issue of whose turn is it when it really counts. And last night was the first time we saw them in a little test tube experiment of overtime on the road. Whose turn is it? Who's going to take over? Nobody took over. Ray's missing free throws. Ray missed it early in overtime. Paul Pierce has a terrible turnover because he's not sure if he's the man anymore or if Ray or Garnett is the man. And nobody was the man. That's my problem. There's no chemistry there.
Somebody was the man. LeBron James was the man.
Oh, come on.
LeBron James was the man. You talking about Boston Celtics not being mentally tough? That means LeBron James was. He's the one that overtime came out, hit the big 3-pointer to put them on their heels.
I now predict that Jalen Rose will soon be a teammate of LeBron James in Cleveland.
Can I just ask you real quick, don't you look at the Boston Celtics, you're saying nobody was the man. Don't you have to face that situation? This is a new team that was put together in the don't you have to face that situation to now go, nobody stepped up, now we're going to figure out who's getting this ball
Each
first.
of those 3 guys, excluding maybe Pierce, but Ray and Garnett have never been the takeover guy for a team where you said, wow, that guy can lift a team on his shoulders and carry them through the playoffs. I'm not sure that they haven't taken away Paul Pierce's authority to the point that there's going to be bad vibes, bad blood, bad chemistry between those 3 guys.
No, I don't agree with that. I think all of those guys are willing to suck up their ego at this point in their career to focus on winning a championship. They've all been the man before. They've all been cover boys. They've all been all-stars. They've all been superstars. Now it's about winning. I really believe those guys are going to sacrifice do what it takes to play together and be a team. But last night, they just didn't get it done.
And my final point is Cleveland played much harder throughout the game on defense than those 3 guys and their teammates.
And they dominated the rebounds. Ilgauskas had a double-double as well as Gooden.
That's going to do it for first down. Coming up in second down, we're going to complete this sentence. We know there are games still to be played, but we'll complete the sentence. Tony Romo's season will end
Thursday night.
We'll give you more details coming up in just a little bit. Right now, we're going to send it over to Amy Nelson, who's been doing an online chat, and people obviously talking about LeBron. Amy, what they have to